Hey there, deep divers. So have you ever been listening to maybe a really complex discussion, like on the news, or maybe even in a meeting at work, and you just feel like you're kind of missing the real story, like what's really going on behind the words, or maybe struggle to figure out why people have such different takes on the exact same issue? Well, today we're diving into something that sounds simple, but it's actually a masterclass in listening. It's task 6, listening for viewpoints, from
Yep.
mastering the viewpoints listening task.
Yeah, and our mission here isn't just, talking about some test part. We want to really unpack this specific task from Paragon Testing. It's known for being, well, pretty challenging. We want to show you what makes it tough, but also how getting a handle on it can seriously sharpen your ability to pull out key insights from really any dense information you come across. And for those who know the system, this task, it's the one designed to let people hit that top score, CLB 12,
Right.
which, if you're not familiar, CLB 12 is basically the peak of Canadian English proficiency. It's not just about speaking fluently.
No, it's much deeper. It's about understanding nuance, subtext, the implied stuff. And task 6 tests exactly that. That's why it's so demanding. Honestly, when I first saw it, I was kind of amazed at how much it expected beyond just basic understanding.
Exactly. And I think what really makes this task, uniquely challenging, it's how it pushes comprehension beyond just hearing words. It's not just listening. It's
Hmm.
really about active deduction. You're listening usually for about 3 minutes to just one person, but they're talking about a controversial topic, and here's the key. They're presenting at least two different viewpoints or perspectives within that single talk.
Okay.
And it's tough not just because of, say, high level vocabulary, although that can be part of it. It's more about the complex ideas. You have to make inferences, deduce meaning from subtle cues.
Right.
It can feel a bit like trying to grasp smoke sometimes, can it? You think you've pinned down a perspective and then, whoop, it shifts slightly.
That's a perfect way to put it. Catching smoke. So, okay, if it's not just about what's said outright, how do we actually do that deduction? What does active deduction look like for us as listeners in this context?
Well, I think a really key thing you learn from tackling task 6 is separating the speaker's own main argument, if they even state one clearly, from the other viewpoints they might just be presenting or outlining.
Ah, okay. So they might just be explaining a view, not endorsing it.
Precisely. And often the real skill isn't just spotting the different opinions, it's figuring out the unspoken assumptions behind them, or maybe the underlying motivations driving those views. And these things are often just hinted at, maybe through tone of voice or emphasis on certain words, or even what they choose not to say.
Mm.
So the speaker might say, some people believe X, but then they follow it up with a bunch of qualifiers, or maybe a slightly dismissive tone that subtly signals they probably don't agree, even if they never say, I disagree with X.
That's fascinating. So it's really not just what they say, but how they say it,
Yeah.
and maybe even what's left unsaid. Are there specific, like, linguistic things, little clues or patterns listeners should tune into, like a viewpoint radar?
Oh, absolutely. Beyond just tone, which is huge, you should listen for modal verbs. Things like should, might, could, must. They signal certainty or doubt or obligation,
Okay.
and pay close attention to contrast words. However, although but, on the other hand, these almost always signal a shift maybe to an opposing view or maybe to the speaker's own counterpoint.
Right, like signposts.
Exactly. And also notice how ideas are attributed. Is the speaker saying proponents argue or it's widely believed? That's different from I contend or from my perspective.
Got it.
Those little linguistic markers, those are your breadcrumbs. They help you track the different lines of thought. It forces you into this kind of cognitive empathy almost. You have to understand a viewpoint well enough to articulate it, even if it's not your own. And that's crucial for truly advanced communication, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I remember trying to make sense of this really dense panel discussion once. The speakers kept sort of circling the same points, but phrasing them just slightly differently each time. It felt exactly like my own personal task 6, trying to untangle who actually stood where. It really does show how this skill goes way beyond just a test situation.
Precisely. And that brings us back to the core challenge of the task itself. It demands that quick, accurate deduction. You're dealing with high-level ideas, multiple perspectives, and it's all under serious time pressure. You get, what, 6 questions to answer in just 4 minutes and 20 seconds?
Yeah, that works out to about 43 seconds per question.
Mm.
Not a lot of time to ponder.
Not at all. But the real value, I think, the real power of mastering something like Task 6 is how it applies to just everyday life, right?
Right.
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, Learning to really listen for and pick apart multiple viewpoints, even when they're subtle, wrapped in complex language, needing inference, that's just an essential skill today. We're drowning in information. So, this raises a question for you listening right now. How often are you truly listening for those underlying viewpoints? Or are you mostly just catching the surface details in the news you read, the podcasts you hear, the conversations you have? Are you passively receiving or are you actively, dissecting,
I mean,
looking for those hidden perspectives?
that's the real challenge, isn't it? It's easy to just let information wash over you. So maybe the thought to leave you with is this. The next time you come across a complex issue, could be a news report, an article, even just a conversation where people disagree. Try treating it like your own personal task 6. Ask yourself, can I spot the different perspectives here? Can I deduce the core arguments, even the unspoken ones? Can I unpack the big ideas, even if they aren't laid out simply? It's a skill, and like any skill, it takes practice. But it's one that will serve you incredibly well, really, in any situation where understanding the full picture truly matters.